Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Transgender Show. My name is Emily. I'm your host. Each week, I interview another person from the trans or non-binary community so that we, hopefully through our stories, show you that you're not alone. My guest tonight is Madi, known on Instagram as MadlyMadiii. Her promo just showed up in the chat there. She's a model and an influencer from New York City, and she documents the trans experience through her honesty and humor. Her online presence focus is to normalize what it means to be publicly trans and helping with advice. In her free time, she says, she loves rollerblading, making pickles, and kissing her cat, though I'm not sure we'll really get too deep into that stuff today. We're always open to questions from the audience, so go ahead and ask anything that you'd like. But let's go ahead and get into it and welcome Madi. Hello.
Hi, how's
Welcome.
everyone doing? Thank you for watching.
Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I was told this would be a show where we would just talk about cats, so now I'm disappointed.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got to do whatever I can to get my guests on this show, so there might be some little fibs that take part.
You got me right from the start. No, I'm so excited. I can't wait to talk. And we did like a little bit of a getting to know each other chat a few days ago, which was so much fun. So I'm very excited to get this going.
Great, great. Well, without further ado, we'll get started in just a sec. But
Awesome.
as I started that sentence, I realized I got some housekeeping to do. For everybody here in the chat, go ahead and type your questions at any time during the show. Type at the Transgender Show so it highlights it so I can see it when I'm doing everything here. Usually what I do is I get through the block of the set questions about her story, her trans background, basically. Then we get into anything else that makes her unique and interesting. And then at the end, we'll answer all your questions. Sometimes I filter them in throughout. So just go ahead and asking them, and I will work them in when I can. And again, thank you everybody for coming tonight. Madi, when did you first realize you were different? What were those signs when you were younger?
Yeah, I guess I would say different came first before I knew that I was a girl.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the signs were I had two older brothers and two younger brothers growing up. So I kind of always felt like I didn't really have a place there, especially being in the middle. I always felt like, they did this, I did my own thing. I was always around my mom, basically attached to her hip.
Mm.
I knew I was different when my mom would be getting ready and I would just sit on the edge of the bed and just watch her do makeup the whole time. And I was like 4, 5 years old and just sitting there going like, well, this is cool. Like, why don't my brothers want to sit here and watch this? It's like the best part of the day.
Mm.
That was like the first real sign. Um, but gosh, I mean, I'm sure you have the same kind of experience. There's millions of other little things that, like, in hindsight, you think of and you're like, oh my God, like this thing and this thing and this thing. I
Mm.
mean, the way I spoke, the way everything was very meticulous, even at a young age. I just didn't want to be mistaken for a boy, but I knew I couldn't be a girl, so I was like, well, I guess I'll just be like kind of weird and odd and quirky, and so it's always very strange from the start.
Mm. And about how old were you when you started having these feelings of that you were strange, where you got to that realization that you were in a boy's body, but that wasn't right, and so
Yeah.
you felt kind of trapped in between. What age was that?
4 and 5.
Okay.
I mean, I have like an insanely good memory, so I remember literally just knowing. I remember being in my bathroom and I got locked in and like I guess my mom was like in the kitchen or something and I panicked, for that 2 seconds that I was locked in there and I was like, oh my God, I'm never gonna get out. And I remember thinking, well, if I get stuck in here and I die, I mean, I was a kid. I was like, if I get stuck in here and I die, I'll come back as a girl, or something different. And so yeah, that was like 5 years old or 6 years old maybe in that case. So yeah, it's been a long time.
And we talked that you had transgender or LGBT influence in your life from an early
Yeah.
age, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So my dad's side of the family, I didn't really know my mom's side too well, but my dad's side, there was a lot of gay men and a lot of LGBTQ before that was even like the term that was like really kind of big and in the ether. It really was just like the gay community. And through the gay community, you would see drag queens and you would see, trans people hanging out. And you would think to yourself, like, okay, well, I know that they're not a man because like they look different. They look more like a girl. So I would kind of like rationalize it in my head. And eventually, like, I just kind of just got used to seeing people that were like us before there was really that term for us,
Mm-hmm.
you know? I didn't really know what to call those kinds of people, but I was like, okay, like there's people out there that are different like me. Again, I wasn't rationalizing it as I'm a girl or I'm trans, but I was like, oh cool, there are people that like can be who they want to be. And that was so important to me,
Mm-hmm.
from a really young age. I'm really thankful for it actually.
Yeah, that's great. So, did that help you come out earlier, do you feel? What time did you when how old were you when you finally came out as trans?
So I'm 33 now, which I know I don't look it, but I came out when I was 32. So, to myself, 31,
Mm.
um, to the public, 32. So it's been a short period of time, but I knew probably when I was like 17, 18 that I probably was trans,
Mhm.
but I just kind of just pushed it back until I just never believed it anymore and just didn't think about it anymore. So the thoughts were always there from when I was like old enough to know what being trans was, but I always thought I can't do it. So if I can't do it, does that really make me trans? That's kind of unfortunately how my brain worked
Mhm.
for all that time until I was 31.
And what was it in your head that you think brought about those thoughts that I can't transition? I can't be trans.
I didn't think that I was strong enough. I would see trans people in media and in TV shows, things like that, and I would just go like, wow, like they really seem to have hard lives. Like
Mm-hmm.
they they struggle, they get called names in public, they get treated as less than compared to cisgendered people, and I was just so scared. I was completely scared, and I was again, this is something a lot of trans people can relate to. I was extremely masculine looking, and I was like, well, there's no way I can go from this to something that more accurately reflects who I feel like inside,
Mm-hmm.
And even when I started coming out to people and I was already on hormones for some time, I would tell people like, I'm probably not gonna make a very cute girl, but like at least I'll feel good. And they were all like, okay, like we get it.
All right.
I hope I proved myself wrong. I think. I mean, at the very least, I feel happy. So like, I think it was all worth it. But yeah, I was scared. I was really just scared.
Was there anything that you saw or sought out that helped you kind of get over that hurdle and made you feel like maybe I can transition, maybe I can achieve some kind of attractive look through hormones or through makeup and things like that?
Yes. So I would go on Reddit, which I try to frequent it and post as much as I can because it ended up being a pretty amazing resource for me in regards to especially like looking at other trans people's timelines, and I got kind of obsessed with it where I would log in every day and I would upvote, where you like rate everybody's timelines, and I would comment and I would just be like, wow, you're amazing. Oh my God. And I would see these people that went from big burly, male presenting to gorgeous, absolutely stunning people in every different kind of facet. And I would just go, wow, like, okay, they did it. It's possible I can do it. Like at the very least, at this point I had already admitted to myself that I was trans and that I was going to transition. So I was really going there just for like the inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
But oh yeah, that was like huge for me was other trans people showing their transformations. It's still something that I see and I think it's like the coolest part There's like Transition Tuesday on Instagram. It's the coolest day of the week, today, where everybody posts their timelines and you just see, before and after, and you're just like, how do they do it?
Yeah.
And now I'm doing it myself, which is really cool. And so, it's nice to keep that going and kind of spread that joy around for people.
Yeah, I had a lot of that myself, like, that self-doubt that I could ever look anything vaguely attractive or feminine. And yet it was interesting how much those transition photos and those transition stories really inspired me and made me think, okay, maybe this is I did couldn't make the connection, but they inspired me so much, and I got kind of addicted to them. I totally see what you were saying there. Um,
Yeah. You
let's
look great, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't fishing for compliments.
I'm giving it anyway.
So let's talk about coming out then. Who did you
Mhm.
first come out to?
I would say my therapist, but technically I don't think she really counts because like she helped me like come to it, in a way that made sense to myself. So really the first person I actually came out to was a friend, and it was totally random. I was at a friend's birthday party and another friend walked up who I hadn't seen in a long time. And I don't know, I just felt like this moment of trusting her. It was my first day of hormones,
Huh.
first day. And I was like, I gotta tell somebody. And so I trusted her and I said, hey, just so you know, like totally sprung it on her. I was like, just so you know, I'm trans and today's my first day of hormones and I'm transitioning and I'm a woman. And she was just like, oh my God, what? Completely supportive. She became an even closer best friend, somebody that I really love. I don't know if she's watching this, but her name is Ariane. I love her.
Hmm.
And really, she kind of was the right person to come out to. She's queer herself. And so it gave me like such a strong base to start from,
Yes.
like I felt like I had a little bit of like I had like a brick wall that could kind of stand behind me a little bit if I ever felt like the world was pushing me too hard.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, super thankful for her. Love her.
Yeah, I'm so amazed by people like you, and it just kind of makes me think how funny it is, how backwards my story is, how much I kind of came out long before I started hormones. I just started
Yeah.
hormones recently, and I've been dressing full time for almost 5 years. So,
Oh, wow.
but I totally understand what you're saying about having that first person that really supports you, and having that yeah, the like you said, the wall that's there behind you, that's always got your back. I love
Oh,
that,
yeah.
and I that's one of the things I try to suggest most on this show is that, yeah, build up your support network first and early. Find those people that you know are going to support you, and then once you found them, then start to branch out, because the bigger that core is, the better you feel about yourself, and the more you're able to dive into being yourself. And because
Completely agree.
it's scary. It's very scary.
So scary, but I completely agree with you. And it's probably the most important part of transitioning is, finding friends
Mm.
and finding support wherever you can, because it's hard.
Mm.
And those people that really want to support you they're gonna pull that weight and really help you. And it's like irreplaceable. So thankful for it. So
Mm. So on the other side of that, who was really difficult for you? Who did you struggle to either tell or struggle to get acceptance from?
I'm gonna take a sip of this whiskey,
Ooh,
because
didn't
the
tell
only
everybody to have
person.
their whiskey ready. We should have.
Yeah,
I don't
sorry
have any.
everyone. If you want to go run right now and grab some, we won't judge. Um, my my toughest person, I think, is my mother, and continues to be. If she's watching this, I'm sorry, Mom. I love her, and she loves me, but I think it's hard for a woman to, rear a child and raise a child and do everything that she can to make this child happy, and then to find out this child was not very happy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not her fault. It's not anybody's fault. It just is what it is. But I think that's been the tough part, is kind of getting her to get over the hump of oh my God, like, was I a bad mom or did I do something wrong? Or should I have seen the signs earlier? You know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, she's loving and amazing. And the fact that even, you know, the person who is the one that's been the toughest to kind of get on board still loves me and supports me and has not said a negative thing about me still kind of means a lot, you know, and I feel really blessed and kind of lucky to have that because I've heard horror stories from everybody else, you know, where people, the loss that is out there is unbelievable in our community. It's so sad. So yeah, I didn't really lose anybody, and I didn't really have a tough time with anyone. Pretty much every friend and family and coworker was just like, awesome, good for you, you know. I'm lucky I live in a very progressive place, but you know, nonetheless, it was amazing. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because you live in a progressive area doesn't mean that the people close to you, your family, some of your closer friends, your longtime friends are going to support you. That's pretty amazing, and it's very unique, very unique.
yeah,
So then was your acceptance at your place of business at your work? How did that go?
yeah,
Was that good?
it was incredible.
Mm.
So I before COVID, at the time, I worked in Broadway. Basically, I worked on Broadway in theater and entertainment related to it, and which you know is kind of a great place to come out as trans because there's so much expression and joy and beauty and love and you know every kind of culture and presentation on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes problematic, but nonetheless, coming out to people and saying, "Hey, you know, I'm going to transition publicly at work. You know, leave on Friday, come in on Monday as a new person." Basically,
Yeah.
they were all like, "All right, cool," and it went way easier than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, it was awesome. Very, again, super lucky person.
Well, it sounds like you had everybody support you and accept you. So, maybe you had a lot of my next question. Who supported you that you weren't expecting?
You know, a lot of people, as weird as that is to say, and not so much that I thought that they would be unaccepting, but more so that I didn't know how accepting they would have been. Like people that were casual friends or people that were, you know, like my roommate, for example, you know, we had gotten to be pretty cool, and then I moved in with her, and the week or two that I moved in, like, I was like, "Hey, I'm transitioning," and she became like a sister to me. You know, there's like that thought in your head that no one's gonna accept you, which is an awful thought that a lot of us go through.
Yeah.
And then there's like the shock of like, wow, not only are they accepting me, but like they're helping me with makeup, they're helping me with like clothes, and I've had people give me stuff and go like, hey, I know you probably don't have this yet, so here you go. Coworkers that I was not super close with that ended up becoming great friends after. Same with family too. I hear from my family members now more than I did before. Yeah, pretty much all across the board. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So, when did you first find community, like an actual
Um,
trans community that not only was supportive but knew what you were going through and could help you, would answer questions, all that kind of stuff, give you guidance?
Instagram, and it was probably just about a year ago that I dressed up publicly for the first time, and so I posted a photo because I'm the kind of person, I'm an Aries and I like
Okay.
attention and I like to do it in a way that makes people shocked. So literally on my Instagram, I just posted a picture of myself in a Halloween costume, first time ever dressed as a woman, as myself, and just posted it up and was just like, let's see what happens. And
Okay.
um, immediately, because I had used like trans hashtags and stuff, trans people just started coming out in droves, which was kind of amazing to me that, you know, we long for community and safety so much that we seek each other out.
Hmm.
You know, it's not something you really see in a lot of other communities, strictly just because they're either too big for it or they're too niche, you know, sometimes. But I think with us, like, we need to have other trans friends sometimes. And I've had trans people reach out to me from that time period very early on that were like, hey, like, you know, I found you on a trans hashtag and it seems like you're in the beginning. Can I give you some help? Can I give you some pointers? Can I tell you about hormones, like, and how it's going to be?
Hmm.
And I'm so utterly, eternally grateful to those people. And so Instagram has been a legitimate lifesaver for me when it comes to transitioning. It has shifted everything that I thought I was going to be doing and kind of sped me up, I think, especially for how little time I've been transitioning. So yeah, Instagram.
The next question seems kind of obvious at this point, but how far along in your transition would you say that you are?
So I've been on hormones now for a year and 7 months. I only started publicly dressing a year ago. If it were like a percentage kind of thing, for myself, I feel like I'm kind of like 50%. I think there's still a lot of mental learning to do, especially like being out in public and talking to people. I still like sometimes feel like I enter a room like a baseball player that's in a dugout, you know, like I just come in like too strong sometimes and too so used to like privilege as a male. So coming in as a woman, I sometimes like forget my place a little bit and don't know like what I'm doing, but I still have a lot to learn there. But yeah, I think I'm like halfway through where I would like to be.
What are some of your next steps? What are your goals?
Next steps. Well, my goal is to feel very comfortable in my skin to the point that I don't really think about not so much that I don't think about being trans, but more that I don't think about what else I need to do, you know, where I'm constantly trying to think about the other thing I need to do and this thing I need to do and how do I look more presentable and how do I find better clothing for myself and blah, blah, blah. I just want to kind of get over that hump and just be content and just worry about normal life stuff. But I think like specific steps, grow my hair out longer because this is a wig. Finish laser. I have like tomorrow I have a session and I think I have like 4 or 5 more and I'm done. And you know, grow bigger boobies. I think that's probably a big one for me. I just started progesterone today, so I'm hoping that helps me do that. And yeah, those are the immediate ones anyway.
Well, congrats on the new the progesterone, the new prescription.
Thank you.
Hope that goes well. What is it that progesterone does? That's one that I'm not very clear on at this point. Because
yeah,
you were saying you were telling me in our previous chat that you should really kind of be at least a year through before you start that.
Very important. Yeah. So at least that's what my doctors relayed to me, and like what my research kind of said was after you've been on hormones or hormone therapy rather, so estradiol and some kind of T blocker or whatever your situation is, for a good period of time, your body does continue to change, but there are certain aspects that start to plateau a little bit. So, like some people say boob growth slows down, some people say like body changes slow down a little bit. And progesterone, there's a reason you need to do it after about a year or so, is you need to get to that plateau point, and then it kind of fills in the gaps and it gives you, you know, a little bit of a more fuller figure. For some people, they say their hair grows in better or that their skin looks more supple. There are a plethora of side effects, and so that's why a lot of people don't go on progesterone. In fact, I debated it myself for months before I actually decided to do it, and those side effects are kind of tough, like exacerbated period symptoms or extreme horniness, which for some would be a plus, and then other things like that, like very big mental changes is the one thing I hear from people. So definitely, so put a big warning sign on it for sure, but it's something that I'm looking forward to doing and seeing if it gives me those feminizing changes I'm looking for.
I think we sort of covered this. What are some of the key fears you've had through your transition, and how did you overcome them?
You know, being seen as a woman was and is my biggest fear. You know, not being seen as a man wearing women's clothing and makeup, being seen as an actual woman was a big fear of mine because I was like, I don't think that'll ever happen. The other big one was love. am I going to find love ever again? Am I going to find a partner ever again who cares about me and doesn't fetishize me? Or, um, things like that. Very societal. Unfortunately, it's all based on other people. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
how are people going to look at me in public? How is my career going to look like? Especially with COVID happening and coming out of that, I'm like, what's next? And do I have to go through a whole HR thing to teach people who I am? I can't just go into the office and just start working. So a lot of that kind of stuff, but handling it with as much grace as I can, which is tough, and with help from others. Doing a lot of research and finding less focus on worrying and more focus on, let me just be myself, and I think it'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
People will hopefully like me, and if they don't, fuck it.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
I had an interesting thing. My dad asked me recently, about me looking for a new job, and he said, are you gonna go out looking for a job like that? And I was just like, well, yeah, duh. And then I thought about it later, and I was just like, oh man, what is that gonna be like? Is that gonna be a problem? And how is that gonna go? I also relate very much to the other things you said about, being seen as a woman. Yeah, I've just kind of, luckily I've gotten past that as a fear, because I have I have so much negativity in my brain that I just have quickly came to the thought that, like, it's not going to happen. So just let it go.
Sure.
um, but finding love, that's the big one that's really held me back from doing any of the permanent changes. I think that's the main reason it took me so long to get on hormones, of like, will I find somebody? So how have you addressed that? How have you been able to get over that hurdle?
By being with people, just by, I guess, not getting over the fear, but more so just putting it in my pocket and kind of moving through it, and saying, you know what, I'm going to go on this date. I remember going on my first date with a man. I dated women prior to transitioning, and after being on hormones for a while, I started to notice men, and I was like, okay, I'm going on a date with a guy. It was like the weirdest feeling I'd ever had in my life, and then I showed up there, and I was like, oh, it's just like dating anybody. It's the same kind of thing. Like, we're both nervous to be there, and he obviously wants to be there because he's here, so it seems okay. We're in public, it feels safe. So, like, getting over that first hurdle of that and the terror that I felt made it so much easier. And now I find that there are people out there for all of us. And I know that's such a silly thing to say, but there really are. I mean, there's people that will see you for who you are, regardless of your presentation or where you are in your transition or anything like that. They just like your personality, or they like the package that they see, and they go, yeah, okay. And I had to, that's like a constant reminder to myself, and instead of saying, like, I don't like my voice, or I don't like when I have facial hair after a day, or any of these things, now I'm just like, well, they kind of seem to be okay with the whole thing. Like, that's why I'm so visible and open about those things on my Instagram and elsewhere. Is like, I want people to see who I really am, because you're not going to get this 24 hours a day. You're just not. You get it a couple days a week, maybe, and that's that. And the rest of the time, I I'm still me. I'm still me always. And yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough getting to that point, but it comes. You get it.
Where are you doing your finding of dates? Where is that happening? I know it's got to be online at this point.
Yeah, it's online. No, I go outside and I just say yes to all the guys that walk down the street and the gals. No, I go on like Tinder, I go on Bumble. I've gone on every dating app you can think of. I actually found dates from Instagram, and I found dates from people I knew from the past who kind of showed back up again in the future, or in the present rather, and we're like, hey, like, we should hang out. And then I was like, oh, this is a date, cool. But lately, yeah, oh, I've had a couple of those. Lately it's been just Bumble, because it gives women the ability to be the one that message first.
Mm-hmm.
And so that took away all of my fear of like, what are people going to say to me is the first message. And now I control it. So,
Nice.
yeah, it helps.
Jeannie in the chat suggests farmersonly.com.
Look, farmers, man, we need them. They're sexy as hell. They're out there. They're hoeing it up in the dirt. We need farmers. We got to keep that alive. All right, is someone find me a farmer? I'll go out with them.
Somebody's got to hoe it up around here, right?
Look,
So have have your transition goals shifted? I know you're not extremely far along, but have you seen anything kind of shift in where you're headed?
you know, I never expected to be sitting here with pink hair, you know, done up on a Tuesday. Like, I thought I was going to be kind of like, you know, like a tomboy kind of girl and just, kind of do that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That shifted once I got into makeup. I was like, oh, whoa, like, I like the ultra feminine look a lot more. So that was like a shift to begin with. Now, as time goes on, I think I'm finding myself trying to dress more for myself instead of like my age and all those things. That was something else I had no plan in doing. I was just going to be like, well, I'll just like dress what I thought I should dress like at this age if I had been born a woman, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, now I'm just like, no, I'm going to wear crop tops when it's like 40 degrees out with a leather jacket over it. I don't care. Like, whatever makes me happy. So it kind of shifts as it goes, it's like day to day kind of stuff where I'm just like, going with the flow, basically. Whatever life gives me, I'm gonna ride that wave. I'm gonna try it all,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of go with it, which is so not how I thought I was gonna be. I had a very strict plan, and basically none of it went to plan. So
It's nice to have a plan, but it's same typical thing. You have the rules so you can break them.
yep,
The rules give you
that's
a
it.
structure, and then you can just kind of break them as you will. I love it.
Yeah, who likes to, some people like to stick to the plan. Now I'm just like, it's so much more fun to just break the rules I gave myself.
Mm-hmm. What role did therapy? You mentioned you were in therapy earlier. What role did therapy play in your ability to come out and your ability to really truly find yourself?
The biggest part it could have ever played. I tell people in my personal life all the time, therapy saved my life in every possible way and gave me a life to live happily. And yeah, so my therapist was an incredibly helpful person who just got it. She spent the time with me. She learned exactly who I was and what I was talking about. She didn't just rush to any kind of thoughts with me. She was just like, let's feel it out. Let's try it all. Let's get through all of your feelings.
Mm.
And by the time it came to transitioning, my first thing that I said to her was, no, I'm not going to do it. Sorry. And she pushed me, not to transition, not to take hormones or anything. She pushed me to continue to find the right answer in myself.
Mm.
And that was everything because I came back to her like a fool and I was like, you were right. I have to transition. I have to do it. Like everything you said was right. Like this is the right thing to do. And she was like, I wanted you to get there on your own, but yes, like, you need to do this. And
Oh.
therapy is the best thing that I've ever done in my life. Bar none, hands down. It's better than even deciding to transition. It's so much more than that. It's just it saved my life, and I owe an entire debt of gratitude to my therapist for. I wish I still saw her, unfortunately, but for giving me everything, giving me every tool, and teaching me how to be a person
Mm.
all over again, the right way. So yeah, it's irreplaceable for me.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't have that
Yeah,
therapist. I need to find that therapist still.
takes time. Takes time for sure.
So,
Keep at it.
what level of confidence? Again, let's go back to some kind of scale here. You could make it up on your own. What level of confidence do you have as a woman these days?
I love rating things from 0 to 10. So I would say my confidence level is, I probably sound like a bitch, but it's definitely like a solid 8. I think that's because of my personality. I think that I can turn even a transphobe into a fan, sometimes, and it's probably not accurate, but that's how I think about myself, and that's just that overinflated ego that I have. But yeah, it's like a solid 8. I think that fluctuates and shifts with the days, just like anybody. But when I look at myself in a mirror, just like I see myself here now, I'm like, hey, like I see a happy chick, and I'm happy that that's who I am. So that confidence to me is huge. It's the reason I'm so open and so out there, and yeah, I'm so thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
Truly.
Other than just kind of your personality, your just innate personality towards that, are there any pieces of advice that you have for people to find that confidence other than therapy?
Yeah, I actually I posted an IGTV video kind of in the beginning of quarantine, actually, so back in maybe April, about finding confidence, and not just as a trans person, but just kind of finding it. And really, it's kind of that old adage, a little bit of fake and a smile, right? Like eventually it starts to kick in. It's not exactly the case here, but you tell yourself, I need to get over this hump of what is frightening me from being confident in myself. Because that's really all it is. We're scared
Mm.
to get to that next step. So for me, it was really just a lot of affirmation, listening to the music that I liked, listening to songs that I liked while I got ready and put my makeup on. And it put me in such a good mood, instead of sitting there in the silence. I put myself in a happy mood and start my day off right. And I would, you know, leave myself little notes here and there and say like, "Hey, you're awesome," or "Hey, don't be a bitch." Like little things like that kind of evened me out and put me in the right path. But confidence takes so much work. It is an everyday, every second reminder to yourself that you are worth something and it's okay. It's not being egotistical, it's not overinflating your sense of self-worth. It's just acknowledging who you are. We all are people that deserve, you know, to be confident. Unfortunately, it's so hard to get. So yeah, it's an everyday, every moment thing. Like
Mm.
even this right now, like my anxiety is telling me like, like what the hell are you doing? You're like on a video and like, oh my God, what's going on? But my confidence is telling me like, you were asked to be here, like it's okay. Like they want you to be here. They want to hear what you're saying. They care about what you're saying. That to me is confidence. Is
Mm.
just reassurance for myself.
That's wonderful. I especially love the idea of leaving yourself little notes of affirmation. That's a great idea. I'm definitely going to
Write
steal that
notes
one.
on your mirror. Write notes, where you're gonna find it like in a few days.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything you put in your fridge. You open your fridge or you open your freezer and you go, what was this again? What did I write? And it's like, you're the best. And it's like, I'm the best. Oh, thanks, me.
Someone thinks I'm
It's
the best.
yeah, I love the note thing. It's really fun. Sometimes I do it now just to like, just because I still missed doing it in the beginning of my transition.
Mm.
Yeah, I recommend it for everybody. It's the best.
So you mentioned that we don't always feel confident. What are some of the things these days that make you feel dysphoric and kind of chip away at that confidence?
Dysphoria for me is a very complicated thing because like I don't know if it's because I've been on hormones and feeling the euphoria of it for so long, but dysphoria for me is triggered by like somebody saying like, you know, it's obviously the mean assholes that are on the internet that say gross stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much like people saying you're ugly or you're still a man or things like that. These are all the things we still hear, but like it's more like when people are just like gross. That kind of triggers my dysphoria because I'm like, damn, like they're only treating me this way because I am trans. It's like that sobering reminder of who you are sometimes where you're
Mm-hmm.
just like, shit, like as much as I love being trans, like it's still really, really hard and really shitty a lot of the time. So that triggers my dysphoria crazy. Another thing too is facial hair. It's just the worst for
Mhm.
me. The worst. I was a very hairy person prior, and seeing that little trace of hair on my chin when I haven't shaved in a couple days because I've just been like depressed or something, when I see that, I'm just like, oh, thanks for the reminder, like another thing to add on to the crap that I'm going through. But um yeah, I try not to let dysphoria take hold of me too much though. I
Mm.
I I think of really, you know, I think of important self-love and body positivity kind of things, and I read quotes from people I like. I read a book, and I just try to out of sight, out of mind,
Mm.
and they don't hurt as bad as they used to, thankfully.
Well, that's great. That's wonderful. Have you had anybody throughout your transition that was a specific role model or a confidant in the trans community?
So I hope I don't offend anybody because they're all so amazing to me and so helpful. Yeah. So there's an account. Her account on Instagram is Caroland14. Her name is Carolina Gutierrez. She is one of the most amazing people I think I've ever had the pleasure of knowing in my life. She posts her transition very publicly and openly, kind of like I do, which is I totally stole that from her. She had a YouTube channel way before most trans people did and was so open about who she was and what she was doing and the procedures she did and the food she eats and dating. And I would just watch her and I would go, oh my God. First of all, the most stunning human being, but two, internally stunning. I would just think, how could this person be so happy being trans, going through what they're going through? And then we became friends. And after I transitioned, kind of publicly, and literally messaged her and said, "Hey, you're my inspiration. I just hope you know that."
Hmm.
And she was like, "Great." And we became friends from there. And I realized, she's just a special person. Like she is just incredible. She offered to send me clothes, from another state all the way over here. And I was like, she doesn't even know me, So she has been instrumental in so many facets of who I am now as a person. So I thank her every day,
Mm.
and I hope she knows that I'm thankful. But so many other women. I mean, Trace Lissette, she's an actress from my area in New York. Love her. She really is like the best. She has the greatest personality. Um, MJ Rodriguez from Pose is a literal light in a freaking world of darkness. Yeah, just so many people. And then all of my friends that I'm friends with now inspire me daily. They're all. This is the cool thing about being in this community is like we all kind of lift each other up, and it's the best.
Mm.
Thank God.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's what we need the most. It's the most important thing if we're, again, like you said, that support group, and it's
Yeah.
best to have that from people that understand what you're going through. What what hurdles have you had in your transition that you've had to overcome?
Um, Hurdles. I would say the big one was being in public and walking outside as myself, and not putting my head down and being afraid of people looking at me.
Mm-hmm.
And weirdly enough, I got over that by getting pink hair. Um, it was like such a bold thing for me to do, and I was like, oh my God, this pink wig is so fun, but I'll never like go outside like this. People are gonna freaking call me crazy. And then what I learned was like it just made me look like so confident and like a fun person. And I
Mm.
noticed that my interactions with people changed immediately. Like
Wow.
women were nicer to me. Knowing that I'm trans too. Like I feel like I very publicly look trans, so like women seeing that I'm trans and complimenting my hair or complimenting my nails, and then they start to look at the outfit, and men being men, whatever. But like in public, that was the big thing. I was so terrified of it, like
Hmm.
ill. I felt sick the first time. So yeah, I got over it just by fucking getting over it, just by going, you know what? No, no, I'm gonna be myself. I deserve to walk on this street. I deserve to go into this store. like let them try to take that away from me
Mm-hmm.
as a woman, like fuck you. So yeah, that was like the biggest one. Another one was voice. I really struggled because I had a much deeper voice prior to transitioning. That was like like much more like down here, and there was a lot more bass. And then I was like, this voice to me that I'm doing now doesn't sound very feminine. I was like, I'll never be taken seriously. So I have to like try this voice and try that voice and months of training it. And then I just settled back on this because I liked it. So
Okay.
it's like, sometimes like the answer is so simple
Mm-hmm.
and we try really hard. So those hurdles got solved just by me saying, whatever, I'm just going to do it anyway, like repetitiveness
Yeah.
of it.
Repetition
Thank
is a good
God.
one, and I also love the idea of actually going super bold like that with the pink hair. Doing something like that. That again, like you said before, makes you happy and helps in your confidence. I also think that there's something kind of cool in that of like if you've got pink hair, like, and people are looking at you, you can put it on the hair while people are staring at me because I have pink hair. And
I do
then
it all.
like you kind of let the part that, oh, they're staring at me because I'm trans sort of thing fade away from your mind.
Yeah, you put it perfectly. That's basically what it is. It's like, you know, it's such it's an eye catcher. And I'm like, they're not looking at my chin, they're not looking at like, my hands or something or whatever, trying to find the signs like
Mm-hmm.
some people tend to do when they're around trans people. Instead, they're just like, okay, crazy long pink hair. You look crazy, but cool. Like, all right.
So what in transitioning have been some of your bigger learning curves? What are some of the things like the way that people have treated you or anything like that that have caught you by surprise and taken a while for you to kind of catch up on?
Talking to people as myself was hard, and like kind of, I guess, like finding like my voice, not so much physically, but finding my voice as a woman amongst other women um, was kind of weird, and that continues to be a little bit weird, but I'm getting there. I don't know. I think I'm at the point now that it like something I don't really think about. Um, yeah, I don't think I really have much.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly,
In what ways has transitioning lived up to your expectations? In what ways is it maybe not necessarily falling short, but what ways is it different than what you'd hoped for or expected?
I thought that transitioning was the kind of thing that like you still feel the same. I thought like I would feel better, but like still kind of feel like myself in a way. Like I didn't think like that my taste in things would change, like music or movies or food or whatever. I was just like, well, I'm always going to be me. But that drastically changed like my mental, I guess I mean the mental aspects of transitioning are the biggest changes for myself. Like, liking spicy food more, liking salty foods like pickles and olives more, or chocolate. Like I didn't really like pickles and chocolate before. I was just like, very like plain Jane, like I like cheeseburgers and pizza.
Hmm.
Now I'm like, well, I like flavor. I like condiments. I like sauce. I like this. I like that. There's like much more going on with my sense of taste and my sense of smell.
Interesting.
Um, oh yeah, and my sight changed too. Like my
What?
literal vision like got better. My eyes and like my vision just got better. It was the weirdest thing. Um, oh yeah, there's like so many weird things that I didn't like know about. Like I wish there had been a trans handbook that was like, just so there's you got to take these pills and you got to put them under your tongue, and you got to take this pill and you got to swallow it, but only at this time of day. Like all these different things that I had no clue about. I was just like, oh, like I'll just take this pill and I'll be a girl. And I was like, oh my god, there's so much more work to it. Um, yeah, being a woman in general, learning how to do makeup and learning how to do hair and learning how to style yourself and how to decorate your room and all of these things, just nothing I was prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
I just learning as I go.
Well, you're getting a lot of pickles love in the chat here.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it helps. I'm working on, I don't want to like jinx myself, but I'm working on creating my own pickle line that I can like physically sell
Okay.
and like ship out to people, especially like other trans folk, just because like we all love them so much. So yeah, I'm really like I want to get that going, but I got obsessed with them. My refrigerator is filled with them. There must be like 150 pickles in there.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a trans pickle brand, though. Like, we'll have to
I
work
know.
together on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We gotta come up with some ideas. We'll crowdsource it.
Well, we're already coming to the end of this section. We got the fun question and then the hard one. That's not the hard one. But it's the good closer. So for the
Okay.
fun one, how did you choose your name? Where did Maddie come from?
Okay. So, for the sake of uh, me being a rule breaker, I'm gonna break the rules and I'm gonna reveal my dead name really quick
Okay.
because it doesn't offend me at all. So my previous name was Jonathan,
Okay.
and my middle name was Matthew. So my initials are JM, and then my last name, the initial is O. So I had JMO, and my mom is MJO, and I don't know. So this is like really fucked up to reveal, but like when I used to get in trouble in school and I would have to get a note sent home for my mom to read it and sign it, I would just sign it for her.
Mm.
So I would just scribble her signature as best as I could, which was M and then the last name. And I don't know, there was something about transitioning in the beginning where I really I spent months thinking about a name. And I was just like, I don't know if I'm ever going to find this name. And then I was just like looking through names and I was thinking, well, I'd like to have the same initials as my mom. I'd love to have like MJO. So then I started brainstorming that and I thought of Jonathan and Matthew like being reversed. And then I thought, well, this kind of sounds like that. Like Madison kind of has the same syllables as Jonathan and like the same kind of aesthetic way of saying it.
Hmm.
And then I just fiddled around and I was like, well, Madison is the closest name to all of that. And then my middle name is Joe, J-O, which is kind of towards my own self, which was Jonathan slash John was J-O there. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit of myself, a little bit of my mom, and just kind of smush it together. And now it's MJO. And I also sign the same exact signature that I used for my mom all those years ago. That's my signature now. So a little bit of foreshadowing on my own part, but yeah, that was it. It was really simple. It wasn't like a name that, you know, the name Madison didn't have any particular meaning to it. I
Hmm.
just thought it sounded really great with what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And, you know, it could have been anything else. It could have been Petunia. I don't know, but I went with that and I don't know. I love it.
Nice. Somebody in the chat asks why you have a username that's so close to one of our friends, mainly Madison.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know if I follow her.
Oh, you
I don't
should.
know. I've changed my username a bunch of times.
Really?
I've had like some weird ones that like lasted a day where people were like, no. I had one that had tacos in it. Bad time in my life. I was eating a lot of Taco Bell. Now lately I was just like, well, I'm like I feel like MadlyMadiii just like kind of says it all, you
Okay.
know. Like I'm just like kind of out there and kind of crazy, but
Hmm.
I like it.
I also saw that
Sorry that it's
attached.
close though.
What's that?
Sorry that it was a little close to someone else though. I
Oh,
hope I didn't like infringe.
yeah. You'll hear from her copyright lawyer soon. I saw that
Great.
attached to your Instagram account is Queen Maddie as well.
Yeah, you know, that's like, oh God, I'm like so embarrassed talking about myself so much, but um, yeah, Queen Maddie is definitely not to be taken seriously. But a lot of the girls, a lot of the younger girls in the community who I've become really close friends with, you know, I would write something bold, like yelling at some chasers or something, and they would go, Queen Maddie has spoken.
Hmm.
And I was just like, that sounds great. I'll take that. And that was it. I just took it on and forced it to be accepted.
Hmm.
So
Hey, it counts as long as someone else originally gave you the nickname. You can take it and use it. That's
isn't that how like people get knighted and like, you know, that's all
sure.
it takes.
Hmm. So, in wrapping up the transgender story section of the
Mhm.
show, what advice do you have for young or closeted trans or non binary people out there?
I would say the first thing is to constantly remind yourself that you're valid, you're going to be okay, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says. I get so many people that message me and go, I'm so worried about what my mom's going to say or what my partner's going to say or what my friends are going to say. And that's totally valid. I get it. I feel it. I was worried too. But it's your life and you only get one, as far as we know.
Mhm.
And being that you only have the one, wouldn't you rather have lived it to the best of your abilities and as yourself with a modicum, hopefully, of happiness and, I mean, beauty? I hate to say it in such a corny way. Um, no matter what, and whatever your gender expression is, and if you're having a hard time getting there, you can do it. You really can. Anybody can do it. We have anybody who has done it out of all of us that I know did it. There's so many of us. So that would be my number one piece of advice is just love yourself and keep in mind that you're valid and you can do this. And I'm rooting for you.
And if you need any help,
That's it.
reach out to Maddie.
Yeah, just message me. Honestly, I mean it's what I do. I want to help y'all, so let me know.
That's wonderful. We all need all the help we can get. Well, Maddie, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show and sharing your story. It was wonderful having you here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on. If you ever have repeat guests, I'm happy to. I don't know what else I could say about myself, but
Mm,
I'd love to do more. And yeah, just again wanted to thank you for asking me. Such a pleasure, and this is so much fun.
great, great. And everybody here in the chat, and thank you for coming. Thank you for your questions and for interacting with everybody, providing your own little answers and facts and everything. It's wonderful to have you here, and I hope that every show, I hope you get something from every show. I hope it helps in some way. I love you all,
Thanks,
and
thanks, chat.
I love you all, and have a great night.
Take care, guys. Bye.